Alright guys, Nick from Scope Training, and today we're going to go back in time to Year 3, Year 4, Year 1. I don't know exactly when these things were taught, but I find a lot of times when people are trying to write documents, they don't actually understand the fundamentals. So, apologies if this is patronising, but I get a lot of questions. What are nouns? What are verbs? What are pronouns? What are all these things that we use to construct a sentence? I'm just going to go through nouns and verbs and hopefully then lead on to the adjuncts, the adjectives and the adverbs. But the real important stuff to delineate are the nouns and the verbs. And every sentence, there are a couple of exceptions, but most sentences need a noun and a verb, or a combination of. All right? And if you fail to do that, firstly, it's hard for the reader to digest what you're actually putting down because their mind is actually looking out for these things. And also you get some funny anomalies in Microsoft Word and associated programs where they'll throw little green lines at you. And that generally means that there's something to do with the grammar. Okay, so red line spelling, green line generally grammar. Cool, let's go. So I'm going to start off with a noun. And a noun is otherwise known as a naming word. We use it to give names to things. So tree, wave, rock, cat, plan, all these things. It's like having your own personal label maker and going, doof, doof, doof. This is what I'm going to name this object. All right, so noun, naming word. Nouns can then be split up into two categories. So you've got your common nouns and your proper nouns. Proper nouns are those that are about places, people, or something of significance or importance. They're generally capitalized, whether at the start of the sentence or during the sentence, so a proper noun will have a capital. The other nouns are the common nouns, which, they're sentence case, so if it's the start of a sentence, it will have a capital. If it's midway through, it will not have a capital. And they're the ones that we use to, I'm going to say not proper things. So common objects, cat, dog, wave, video, book, hair, even conceptual nouns, so feelings such as love, envy, greed, fear, those sort of things are actually nouns. Right? And here's a general rule. If you can't feel and touch it or use one of your five senses to identify a noun, they're called abstract nouns. So all the emotions are actually abstract nouns. So they're the nouns. There's also a pronoun which comes up quite often. So we determined that Nick, myself, was a noun. Right? And if you want to do a noun, nice little symbol there, that's what the dictionaries call nouns. Nick is a noun, but you'll see sometimes you want to replace that with something else. So sometimes you might want to use he instead of referring to Nick all the time. That's called a pronoun. If you're using pronouns, it's quite common, but if you are using pronouns, make sure that you've introduced Nick initially and that you do have a link between the noun and the pronoun so people know who he is referring to. Right. That's good. So that's with the nouns, so noun, naming word, and now we're going to move on to verbs. Okay, so now we're going to talk about verbs. And verbs, otherwise known as doing words, refer to things such as an action or a state of being. Actions such as walk, run, cry, talk, laugh. Sorry, I just had to throw that in. We are back to year 4. And the state of being can be words such as am, was, became. The verbs that we use for a state of being are also called linking verbs. Okay, so we've got the nouns and verbs down packed, hopefully. Now I'm going to test you. So I'm going to write a sentence, and what I need you to do is identify the nouns and the verbs and anything else we've learnt. And if you know me, you'll know I've got a couple of curveballs. So, here is a sentence. Nick is writing some awesome ideas on his small whiteboard. Go. When you see a noun, what I want you to do is put a little N, and when you see a verb, just put a little V next to it. Oh, right, you're waiting for the solution. Well, no, you should have faith in yourself that you've got it correct, but I will provide the link for a solution.